when everything feels like it's falling apart. Beloved soul, before anything else, pause for a moment. Not because life is calm, not because everything is okay, but because your spirit needs to breathe. You may not understand why this message reached you. You may not even feel worthy of hope right now. Yet God says, I know exactly where you are. You didn't search for this message. This message searched for you. Because heaven never interrupts a life without purpose. When life feels too heavy to carry. There are seasons when life doesn't gently challenge you. It presses you. You wake up already tired. You move through the day with a quiet ache. You smile when required, but inside, you feel empty. People see you functioning. God sees you surviving. And in the silence of your heart, a question keeps returning. Is this the end of my story? God answers clearly, no, this is not the end. Why this season feels so final pain has a voice. It whispers lies, like, this will never change. You've failed. You've missed your chance. God has moved on. But pain is a poor prophet. Pain only speaks from the present moment. God speaks from the finished story. This season feels final because you have lost something important. You are exhausted from trying. You are afraid to hope again. But exhaustion does not equal expiration. God says, just because you're tired doesn't mean you're done. God does not measure your life by this moment. You see this chapter and assume it defines you. God sees every chapter, past, present, and future. He sees what you survived, what you endured silently, what you carried without support, and He says, this moment does not erase who you are becoming. Your pain is real, but it is not permanent. When you feel abandoned, God is actually closest. One of the hardest truths is this. God often feels silent when He is working deepest. Silence does not mean absence. Delay does not mean denial. Waiting does not mean forgetting. God says, I am closer than you realize. He is close when prayers feel unanswered, doors feel closed, strength feels gone, because closeness is not always felt. Sometimes it is revealed later. You think you're losing. God says you're being freed. You say, I lost security. God says, I removed dependency. You say, I lost people. God says, I protected your future. You say, I lost direction. God says, I cleared the noise. Not every loss is punishment. Some losses are deliverance. God never removes something without replacing it with something greater, even if the replacement doesn't arrive immediately. This is not a collapse. It is a construction zone. Construction is loud. Construction is messy. Construction looks worse before it looks better. And God says, do not judge the building while I am still working. You are under construction. Old beliefs are being dismantled. False strength is being removed. Pride is being softened into trust. This is not destruction. This is preparation. God never ends a story. Mid-sentence. If God intended to end your story, He would not still be speaking to you. If your purpose was finished, you wouldn't feel this pull to survive. The very fact that you are still here, still listening, still breathing, is proof that God is not finished. He says, as long as you are breathing, I am still writing. When you can't see the way forward, faith is not knowing the next step. Faith is trusting the one who does. You don't need the full map. You need obedience for today. God says, stay with me today. Tomorrow will take care of itself. Most breakdowns happen because people demand answers for a future they are not yet prepared to walk into. God prepares the heart before He reveals the path. Why God doesn't end the pain immediately. If God removed the pain too quickly, You would miss the lesson you would repeat, the cycle you would return, unchanged. God is not cruel. He is careful. He heals thoroughly, not quickly. And He promises, I will not let this pain be wasted. When you feel like you've lost everything, God says, I am still writing your story. Beloved soul, there is a dangerous moment in every life. Not when things begin to fall apart, but when you start believing that nothing good remains. This is the moment when hope feels fragile, when faith feels tired, when survival itself feels like effort. And it is here, right here, that God speaks most clearly. You are not at the end, you are in the middle. What you are facing now is not the conclusion of your story. It is the turning point. Why the middle feels so painful? The middle is uncomfortable. Beginnings carry excitement. Endings carry closure. But the middle carries uncertainty. You are no longer who you were, but you cannot yet see who you are becoming. And that space feels terrifying. You feel suspended between what ended and what has not yet begun. This is why the middle feels heavier than the beginning or the end. But God says, do not confuse the middle with failure. You think you've lost everything, but you haven't lost me. Loss has a way of narrowing your vision. Pain convinces you that what you lost was everything. What remains is nothing. But God says, you still have me, and as long as you have me, you have more than enough. People can leave, doors can close, plans can collapse. But God does not abandon the middle of a story He authored. When God removes, it feels like abandonment. This is where many people misunderstand God. They think, if God loved me, He wouldn't let this happen. But love does not always preserve comfort. Sometimes love interrupts it. God removes before He rebuilds. He separates before He elevates. He empties before He fills. And the empty season hurts the most. God says, I had to clear the ground before I could build something new. The pain of letting go is often greater than the pain of holding on. Letting go feels like failure. You replay memories. You question decisions. You wonder if you gave up too soon or stayed too long. But God says, release is not weakness. Release is obedience. You were holding on to something that could not go where God is taking you. If it stayed, it would have delayed your destiny. You are not being erased. You are being rewritten. Pain tells you, I don't recognize myself anymore. God says, that's because the old version cannot survive the future I have planned. Growth always requires discomfort. Every transformation includes confusion, grief, resistance, but transformation also includes wisdom, authority, depth. You are not losing yourself. You are becoming yourself. When God goes quiet, He is working deeper. Silence scares people because silence feels like abandonment. But God's silence is not empty. It is intentional. God often withholds explanation because explanation would distract you from trust. He says, if I explained everything, you would try to control it. So He asks for faith instead. Faith that walks without clarity. Faith that trusts without proof. Faith that stays even when answers don't come. The story is still being written. You see blank pages and think, nothing is happening. God sees chapters forming. Some of the most important writing happens behind the scenes. God works in places you cannot see, in timing, in alignment, in preparation. The delay is not denial, it is development. What you call waiting, God calls alignment. Waiting feels like punishment, but waiting is not wasted time. While you wait, your discernment grows, your dependence deepens, your priorities shift. God uses waiting to remove impatience and replace it with wisdom. He says, I am aligning you with what is next. This is where faith is forged. Anyone can praise God when life is good, but faith that survives loss is faith that cannot be shaken. This season is forging you, not to harden your heart, but to anchor it. The strength you are developing now will support you later. You will not just survive the future, you will stand firm in it. You will not always feel like this. Pain lies about permanence. It tells you, you will always feel this empty. God says, this feeling is temporary. My promise is permanent. Emotions change, circumstances shift, seasons move, but God remains constant. God is teaching you to walk by faith, not feeling. Feelings are unstable. Faith is rooted. If God waited for you to feel ready, you would never move forward. So He teaches you to walk even when confidence is low, emotions are heavy, clarity is missing. Because destiny does not require certainty. It requires obedience. You are not behind. You are being prepared. Comparison is cruel. You see others moving forward while you feel stuck. But God does not work on human timelines. He works on purpose timelines. What He is preparing for you requires depth. You are still developing. He says, I am not delaying you. I am developing you. One day, this season will make sense. Understanding often comes later. Not while you are inside the storm, but after you pass through it. One day you will look back and say, now I understand why God had to do it this way. That understanding will not erase the pain, but it will redeem it. When hope feels weak, God says, your ending will be greater than your struggle, beloved soul. If you have reached this part, understand something sacred. People quit before this moment, but you stayed, not because you were strong, but because something inside you refused to die. And God says, that refusal is not stubbornness, it is purpose. This is the part of the story where heaven leans closer, not to test you, but to restore you, because what you are facing now is not the end. The most dangerous lie. Pain tells you. Pain does not only hurt, pain distorts vision. It tells you, this struggle defines you. Your best days are behind you. You will never fully recover. God helped you before, but not now. But God says, your struggle is a chapter, not a title. You are not labeled by what hurt you. You are named by the one who created you. God never brings you this far to abandon you. Look back carefully. There were moments you should not have survived. Moments when quitting would have been understandable. Moments when strength was gone. Yet somehow, you are still here. That is not coincidence. That is divine continuity. God says, if I carried you through that, why would I leave you now? Why God saves the best work for the end. God is not impressed by speed. He is committed to completion. He builds slowly because shallow foundations collapse, rushed, healing breaks again. Quick elevation destroys character. God takes time because He protects outcomes. Your ending must be strong enough to support what He is about to place on your life. You will not finish like you started. Many people start with confidence. Few finish with depth. God cares more about how you finish. You may have started innocent. You may have started unsure. You may have started afraid, but you will finish. Wiser, stronger, anchored. Discerning God says, the version of you that finishes will thank the version of you that endured. This season taught you what success never could. Success teaches celebration. Pain teaches wisdom. You learned who is real, what matters, where your strength truly comes from. You learned how to stand alone. You learned how to pray honestly. You learned how to trust God without conditions. These lessons will protect you later. God uses broken places as doorways. The place where you almost gave up will become the place where others find hope. Your story will speak without shouting. Your scars will teach without explaining. Your survival will encourage without trying. God says, what broke you will one day bless others. Restoration does not mean returning to the past. Many people misunderstand restoration. They think restoration means getting back what was lost, returning to how things were. But God restores forward, not backward. He does not return you to old versions. He introduces you to better ones. What He gives next fits who you have become, honors what you survived, matches your growth. Your future will require the strength you built here. If God released your future too early, it would have crushed you. So He prepared you. This season strengthened your boundaries, sharpened your discernment, deepened your dependence. You are no longer fragile. You are formed. God is not just healing you. He is establishing you. Healing removes pain. Establishment creates stability. God is doing both. He is healing what hurt, sealing what matters, anchoring what remains. So you do not repeat cycles. So you do not settle again. So you do not shrink when blessed. The joy coming will not cancel the pain. It will redeem it. One day you will smile again. Not because you forgot the pain, but because it no longer controls you. Joy will return quietly. Peace will settle gently. Hope will rise naturally. And you will realize you survived, and you are still standing. You will trust God differently after this. Not blindly, not desperately, but deeply. Your faith will no longer depend on outcomes. It will rest on relationship. You will know God as sustainer, protector, restorer, finisher. This is mature faith, and it cannot be shaken. God's final word over your life. Not fear, not loss, not delay. God's final word is completion. He finishes what He starts. He keeps what He promises. He honors those who endure. And He says clearly, what you're facing now is not the end. Final declaration. End of part 3. Speak this with quiet confidence. This season did not break me. It prepared me. God is not finished with me. My ending will be greater. And God replies, Amen. Now walk forward.